Join us in the Bear Den, a real-life, real-love podcast celebrating the joys and challenges of parenting, family dynamics, and unconditional love.
Welcome to another episode of the Bear Den podcast. Today, I am very excited about my guest. He is a phenomenal friend of mine. I'm going to let him give you his attributes, but there is a lot of amazing attributes. Wrestling, state champion, father, public speaker. And I think the most important one is he is the American Crocodile Dundee. It is Mr. Ben Kjar.
Good night, mate.
Dude, look at this outfit. Wowzers.
Yeah, I would figure we'd welcome you to the U.S. from overseas.
I just thought you got dressed in the dark, but hey, I'll roll with it.
Dude, anybody listening to this podcast, my man, is going to listen to your accent and just going to melt.
Hopefully.
They're just going to melt, and they're just going to be here listening. And guys, if you're watching for the first time, if you're listening for the first time, I hope you stay, because Matt is a phenomenal human being.
Thank you, brother.
And so I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. And the way that you love is just it's so dynamic, man. You're just such a good human.
I appreciate that, my
Thanks
friend.
for having me on, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't think of a better person to have on than yourself, because you have such an interesting story. And I know that we can go down a rabbit hole very quickly of that story, but I want to kind of just touch on it and circumnavigate around it, because you tell your story on other platforms so beautifully. But I really want to focus on the little bits of your interesting story blended in with your parenting. And then obviously you being a parent, which is a story in its own. So going back to little Ben as a kid, okay? For those who don't know you, and I'm not going to try and get it right because I'm not in the medical profession, I'll get it wrong. Tell people what you were born with. Explain people to who little Ben was and what you went through.
Yeah, absolutely. Doctors came to my parents and they said, your boy is born with something called sexy. SEXY.
Yeah, baby.
And my parents are like, yeah, I've heard of that before. And then
Kind of runs in the family.
It runs in the family. My dad's like, of course he's born with sex. He's my boy.
He got that from my side, baby.
So talk about parenting and runs in the family. I was born in 1983 with something called Cruzon Syndrome.
Okay.
The crouton that you put on the salad, it's Cruzon with a Z.
Okay, Cruzon. Okay.
Cruzon Syndrome. And it's a craniofacial anomaly, rare. What is it? The middle part of the face doesn't grow at the same speed. Your skull grows at different speeds. And it wasn't till like a little bit later after birth, my parents are like, all right, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I had a problem breathing when I was breastfeeding. I very high palate, and things just weren't growing the right way. And it affected me. They would take me to the doctors, and my parents would find out that I would have to have multiple reconstructive facial surgeries. So I have a scar right here from a trach that I had. They would take bones from my hip, put it in my face. They would cut my head open from ear to ear. 12, 14-hour surgeries. I would come out. I'd be completely swollen, and I would be on liquid diets type of stuff.
How old were you when this was going on?
So they would have multiple surgeries,
Okay,
depending on when I would...
The phases of growth.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So just to keep up with normality, it would be 6 months to about a year. Another one when I was about 5. And then I was supposed to have one when I was about in junior high, right? Hitting puberty and stuff like that. And my parents came to me being incredible parents. I mean, talk about parents. I scored in that department, right? We all have different trials and vices and struggles in life. That was not mine. God gifted me incredible parents.
That's amazing, dude.
And
strong parents.
Oh, my goodness, strong.
Talk about, now, how many siblings do you have?
I'm one of 7.
Okay.
I'm right in the middle of 7.
Okay, so they've had several kids before. Any issues with any of those kids before or post?
No. So none of them, physically, none of them. I mean, my older brother had a little bit of an underbite, but he never had to have a surgery. He did.
Gotcha.
But none of them have had a craniofacial difference.
So they've had a couple of kids. They're going in to have another one. Obviously, you. They find out that you have this Cruzon Syndrome, which is going to lead to multiple surgeries. Talk about the strength of parents just being like, okay, what do we need to do? How do we, like, what does he need? Let's just do this. And then going through all that with you and then still having more kids. Like, okay, you are a full-time case at this point of making sure that you get what you need, which, financially is a I wouldn't say a burden, but it's a big financial, undertaking. And then to still have more children, holy cow, what a strong set of folks.
Yeah. Incredible.
Cool.
And the benefit of that, so anybody listening to this who has watched the movie Wonder, it's about a kid with a craniofacial difference. He's going to school, but he wears this like astronaut helmet because he doesn't want.
This is quite recent with Owen Wilson. Probably in the last 3 years.
Julia Roberts.
Yes.
Yep, they're the parents. And what you see in that movie that I didn't really realize until later is the power and the impact of the siblings. So we're talking about parenting. That is very easily coupled with how powerful siblings can be.
Yeah.
They were literally my shield in so many times that I never knew about, man.
Wow.
Like literally, not even until I watched Wonder like 2 or 3 years ago. My wife read the book, which is phenomenal. I've spoken in events on the stage of these kids, like Augie in the movie. Know him. I know these other kids. And understanding that out of the movie, coming out of watching the movie, I went to my siblings and I'm like, did these things happen? And they're like, they did. And we were there blocking them as the shield. So my parents were the shield. My siblings were the shield. But going back to kind of my phases of surgery was out when I was in junior high, this is how cool my parents were. They decided at a young age, at what point are we just going to allow our kid to live? I cried in about third, fourth, fifth, sixth grade. I cried for years to let me play football. Not flag football. Nothing against flag football,
full
but
contact.
I'm talking full contact, throw a helmet and pads on this little kid who's like 3'2" at this point, right? Yeah. Prepubescent, like, let me play football. They're like, Ben, you just had your head cut open. They're like, let me bang heads, right? They're like, who is this kid, right? And I would beg and beg and beg. Imagine your boy coming to you that literally has had to have his head like cut open and praying to just be normal and play sports with his buddies. Yeah. They eventually said, I imagine, and they never told me this, but I imagine their pillow talk every night of their pillow just being like sopping wet of tears because they would go to bed at night wondering, how are we going to do this? Yeah. How many more years are we going to deny our kid to go out and be with his friends?
To be a kid.
To be a kid.
Yeah, you can only wrap you up so much in cotton wool or bubble wrap or whatever it is. At some point in life, the shield has to come away and you have to step forward and protect yourself, wear your own armor, fight your own fights, fight your own battles, and step up, right? There's only so much, like, you can't be protected in life, otherwise you don't grow, you don't become the human that you have today. But also as a parent, all we want to do is protect our kids.
Yes.
You've gone through all of this, you have Cruzon, one hit could impact you for the rest of your life. Take up fishing, take up chess, take up swimming, just don't do football.
Yeah.
But you're an American boy. Football's part of your life. It's either football or baseball, or well, you're way too short for basketball, so let's just cut that out. But you know what I mean? Like, there's a part, I can understand as a parent, like, I need to protect you, honey. I need to protect you. You're my I can't let you do this.
Sure.
But then there's also, I have to let you do this because you got to face your own, you got to warrior up, right?
Yeah. And that's the
Wow.
difference between two powerful words, coddling and cuddling.
Yeah.
Cuddle, pour into, love, absolutely have empathy for, and then the most important, I think that's easy to miss out on, we mentor, we direct.
Mm-hmm.
We don't control.
Yeah.
We don't micromanage. And it's easy to think that as a child, as a parent. But then we release them to the world after high school, and if we didn't mentor, and if we didn't direct, then they go out and they're out of the suffocation box, and how are they going to live?
Yeah.
My parents were incredible parents at cuddling. Ben, when you get made fun of in the store, literally, which happened many times where kids would call me a monster. Hey, look it in front of the whole, what I felt like was half the neighborhood. Hey, look at the monster. Don't touch him. He's contagious. Mom, get me away. When I would come home, my mom would cuddle with me, cry with me. But just as you said, she would not wrap me in bubble wrap in a mattress, throw a mask on my face, and say, never go outside again. In turn, quite the contrary. She would say, Ben, get your butt off the floor. Stop hugging toilets your whole life, crying in the bathroom. Let's freaking roll. She said, Ben, you're different, so let's go make a difference. Ben, you're going to have attention whether you like it or not, so go stand out and shine, baby. And so eventually she thought, we're going to let this kid live. And guess what? I played football.
Yeah, you did.
And I didn't just play. I started. I was the smallest guy on the team. And guess what? That rolled right into wrestling. You know what my parents did for me? They literally changed my life. All parents listening to this, I don't care. You're going to be listening from around the world. You're going to hear this message. There's going to be kids out there today that are having a hard time. And you're going to be wondering, and your kids are going to be wondering, how do I find confidence? And they're not going to have a craniofacial anomaly. But guess what? The more dangerous anomalies that we have are the ones that you can't see.
Yeah.
You can see mine.
Yeah.
You can see it first and foremost, and you're like, okay, how do we handle this? There's going to be kids that are in their bedroom tonight, that are sitting in their car when they drive home and something happened, and they're going to find out, and they're going to think inside their mind, do I want to be here tomorrow? Do I want to check out right now? Here's my advice to parents. Allow your kids at a young age to go and experience every aspect of life. Let me give you an example. My parents knew I needed confidence. Right off the bat, they knew the first thing that someone was going to see is something that was different. So how do we find confidence for him? And it doesn't make a difference if your child has a craniofacial difference. You need to find confidence for them.
Yeah.
That will allow them inner success and exterior success in life and significance. So what did they do for me at a young age? They put me in singing, right? And something called gingerbread kids. You think I wanted to let my girls know in my school that I was in gingerbread kids?
Not the gumdrop buttons.
Yeah, man. We literally show up. I had like a plaid, like this shirt with suspenders, and we're like, gingerbread kids.
Oh.
Dude, but we did everything.
Yeah.
They put me in clogging, tap dancing. They put me in, like I would literally walk down the 4th of July parade walk as like clogging as George Washington. They put me in football. They put me in jump rope. They put me in indoor-outdoor soccer. They put me in basketball. They put me in baseball. Everything. Allow your kids to find their thing.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't till about junior high. Later in junior high, before I went into high school, that guess what? I would decide what my thing was. And for me, it was wrestling. Believe it or not, after having all these facial surgeries, it was a contact sport with no protection that made me feel alive. Parents, when you're out there and you're listening and you're thinking, my kid doesn't have some type of confidence, they need something that they can call theirs.
I think confidence comes in so many different ways too right now. You know, having daughters, we've gone through soccer with the girls, ballet with the girls, gymnastics with the girls, swimming with the girls. They've tried everything, right? And I know some parents out there like, oh no, my little girl's going in dance. And those kids are in dance from the age of 2 to 20, whatever. That was their path. Andrew and I, like, if the girls want to try whatever, let's just put them in it for 6 weeks. There's a club. Put them in swimming for 6 weeks. If they hate it, we won't do swimming again. If they love it, we'll go all in with them, right? I don't want to force my kids to be like, well, you're girls, so you're going to have to do ballet and gymnastics. If my kids want to be a NASCAR driver, have at it, kiddo. I'll teach you how to drive, right? Like you said, find their own vibe, find their own confidence. I also believe, too, confidence can come from things that don't have to be physical. Like, my oldest daughter, she loves to draw. She's an artist. She will spend hours just sat on the couch drawing. But the confidence she gets from drawing is unbelievable. You know, when she literally will say to me, hey, Dad, what do you want to draw? I'm like, oh, draw me a Christmas tree. I don't care. 20 minutes, half an hour later, she comes back. I'm like, holy cow, babe. She's like, yeah, you wanted a Christmas tree? Here it is. I'm like, that's amazing.
Wow.
Unbelievable. The confidence she gets in that to be artistic, and she's done drama, she's done performances, she loves the artsy type of world. She starts liking to make movies on her phone and put movies together. It's that beautiful. It doesn't have to be a physical thing. It can just be anything. You know, if your kid loves to read, have them read to you. It builds their confidence. And who knows? They could be the next David Attenborough who's narrating 30 years worth of beautiful television series around the world. Reading can take you to the next level every time. Just so whatever your kids find strength or enjoyment in, lean into that and let them lean into it, because confidence doesn't have to be in front of 1,000 people. Confidence doesn't have to be a wrestler or a basketball player or a football player. It can be. Confidence comes from being acknowledged by your parents of what you're good at, and them taking the time to listen or be with you when you do it. I think that is where, at a young age, confidence comes from. Your kids want to go ride their bike without the stabilizers, go and stand on the driveway and watch them ride. Nothing builds confidence for a kid riding their bike when mom and dad are on the driveway and those stabilizers come off for the first time. That kid's like, oh man, I got to pedal. I got to go. Mom and dad are watching. I'm not falling. And boom, they're gone. You know what I mean? Like, they're just gone. And so when you talk about confidence, I'm just like, it comes in many forms. And just lean into your kid and just let them grow with it, and let them fail and let them pick themselves back up, and let them fail and let them pick themselves back up, and they'll be set, right? They'll be set.
Bro, that's gold.
Yeah.
And you're so good at that.
Thank
too.
you.
Like, the power of being like the biggest cheerleader for your kid. There's some memes going around, little videos going around. There's one of a little boy, and he's at bat, and he's in an empty park with his dad, and his dad is tossing him the ball, and he tosses him a ball, and the kid hits it over the fence, and the dad
I've seen
goes
this.
ballistic.
Absolutely. Like, the dad's running around like, oh my God.
Oh my gosh! Ah!
Yeah.
Like, it's like his dad just saw his boy win the World Series.
Yeah.
There's nobody around.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's not 1,000 people there. Not 10,000, 20,000 people there. There's nobody.
Just
it's like
one
cricket,
person.
cricket. But that one person, that means the most.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
And I think as a parent, and you know, I've been a parent now for 10 years. As a parent, there's things that kids do daily that we just dismiss. You know, hey, Dad, watch me do this. Hey, Mom, watch me do this. Hey, and you're like, kiddo, I'm in the middle of something here. Can you just go do it? Like, You know what I mean? When they want you, when they're asking you to stop and watch, it's because they're building their confidence. And so, you know, if your kids are in the pool and they're stood on the edge of the pool and like, hey, Dad, watch me dive bomb into the pool. They're asking for you to watch. It builds their confidence. That one dive bomb, sure, it's 3 foot. They jump in, they hit the water, they come up, they didn't drown. They go do it again. And what do? They go a little higher because they've built confidence. Dad, watch me again. They jump in. Hey, great one, kiddo. You didn't drown. What do? They get out. They go a little higher. That confidence is always being built. So I think it's really important for parents that if we have the time and we have the energy and the compassion, when our kid asks us to do something, just take a minute. It's 30 seconds of your time. It's a lifetime of confidence for them.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's a lifetime of confidence for them.
We have so much stuff going on that for us, it's just part of our day.
Yeah.
For them, it's literally makes their day.
It makes who they are, dude.
It does. Because their life's so simple
Yeah.
at that moment that for us, like you said, it's taking our time away from these other things. This is literally what they wait the whole day for.
Yeah.
And if we can just buy into that moment, it just makes the world a difference. I'll never forget my dad multiple times when we were at these events. He didn't even wait for me to come to him, and this was the difference he made for me. So every year, for an example, we'd go to this something called the NCAA Wrestling Championships, Division I, way before I was in college. And my dad would be sitting next to me. And so this is a challenge for parents, right? Don't wait for your child to say, look at this, to give them feedback or to be a cheerleader. But what if we created that moment? And what if we did that and set it up and teed it up, right? Like that dad did in the meme. He had to show up with the ball, throw it, and just allow him to hit it. But what if you don't even have to allow him to hit it? We would literally be sitting at this tournament. The tournament would be over. In the sport of wrestling, there's a podium at the end. And they give the gold and the silver and the bronze medal. Well, in that moment, way before I would ever get there, my dad would grab his, he would take his fingers and stick it in my chest. And he would say, Ben, that's you. And he would pour into me something that I didn't even know I had in myself. There was no action I had to do.
Yeah.
There was no thing that he was cheering on me, being my fan, being my cheerleader way before it would happen.
Makes you believe.
It makes you believe.
Yeah.
So Ed Milet is literally on a stage last year in September at an event I'm at in Florida. He gets up as I'm sitting in my chair. I have 3 kids at this point, all under the age 3 and under, 3, 3, and 2. And he says this, and this is what literally changed my life. He's like, you know what? There's a form of child neglect we don't talk about. Child neglect is not much different than abuse. Let's realize that. It may just be the form in the mental side, which is dangerous.
Yeah.
We talk about these physical abnormalities like I have in my face. Let's go internal now, which is what the world faces. We're talking about mental health now of our children, of ourselves. And he says this, and this literally changed my life. He's like, there's a form of child neglect that we don't talk about, and it's parents not living their dreams.
Oof.
And you know what's crazy? Because I adopted my kids all really quickly, I didn't have 9 months to get ready. I had 15 freaking hours to show up to pick up my first boy. And shortly thereafter, I was offered a beautiful baby girl to adopt. I was a parent within literally like a couple of days of 2 kids. And it made me realize as I bring them home, they're going to watch daddy from day one. And what he does in the morning, Matt, what daddy does in the morning, I'm going to do or think that it's normal. This morning, before this, I went to work out. My wife didn't go because she was sick. Option number 1, do I choose out?
Yeah.
Or do I grab all 3 kids and do I go to work out? Their standards are what my defaults are.
Yes.
Their normality of health, their normality of nutrition, their normality of how dad shows up is what my life is.
Yeah.
When my dad sits next to me and pours into me, guess what I think I should do for my kids? Do that.
Yeah. You know, that is, I love that you share that. I truly do love that you share that because that was something that I hadn't realized until a couple of years ago. quite honestly, through We Are the Day 18 months ago, figuring life out, who I am, what I am, why I'm here, what's my purpose, figuring all that out in the last 18 months to 2 years, that I've found that realization of like, my kids are watching. Like, if I'm sitting here wondering who the hell I am, what's my worth, why am I even here, they can feel that. And so what are they asking about me? What are they thinking about me? And then as that has grown and the iteration has changed, in the last, since we were in Spain in July with Running with the Bulls, I was probably at the second heaviest I've ever been in my life.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, you know what, when I'm done with Spain, I'm going to get back. I'm going to get fitter. I'm going to lose weight. I want to get healthier and fitter. And then quite recently at our last Ludus in Lake Powell, I had the breakthrough of, Jimmy asked the question, where do you want to be in 12 months? What's our goal for 12 months? And guys are talking about business, guys are talking about life. And honestly, I thought to myself, well, I'm going to focus on the podcast. I want this podcast to be great in the next 12 months. And then it hit me, bro. It actually brought me to tears. I was like, in the next 12 months, I am going to be the healthiest version of a father that my girls have ever known. My girls have never known me healthy.
Bro, I got chills.
Seriously, they've never known a healthy father in me. I've always been overweight since I've met them. I've always been bigger. I've never been mentally healthy. So even if I was physically healthy, which I've been, I was mentally unhealthy. Even if I was mentally healthy, which I am now, I'm physically unhealthy. I've never had my mental, my physical, and my spiritual health in alignment.
Wow.
And so my goal was, I am going to be the healthiest father my girls have ever seen, mentally, physically, and spiritually.
So how are you going to do that? The world's watching right now. How are you going to do that? What's the difference?
It's the hook. I have got physically healthy in the past for the people to turn around and say, you look great. Oh my God, you've lost weight. You look fantastic. Dopamine hit. Boom, 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 boom. Right. Oh man. All these people telling me I look good. I feel good now. God, that lasts 30 seconds, dude. It's like a like on Instagram or a heart on Facebook. It's very insignificant. So I've got physically healthy and in better shape because of the plaudits that it gets me, the attention that it gets me. You look good, whatever. The mentally healthy I never figured out until I knew I needed to. I couldn't get any lower, and I figured that out, right? But now the hook for me to be spiritually, mentally, and physically healthy is my kids.
Wow.
That's my hook.
Dude, me too.
Right? And it's taken me 10 years of being a parent, 2 years of hard work through We Are the Day to figure out who I am, to realize I'm doing this for my freaking kids, my wife and kids. Yeah. My wife deserves the best version of who I am. My kids absolutely do, because you're so right. What we do, the standards that we set, the examples that we set to our children, they replicate. They just go forth and replicate. You look at families, you go out to dinner with families, and you and I always love this as a benchmark of not that I'm judging parents, but it's always a good benchmark of families. When you go out to dinner with families who have kids, no matter the age, how well are they behaved to their kids in a restaurant? Are they kicking and screaming? Are they on an iPad or a phone? Or do they sit there and are they polite to the waitresses? Do they eat their dinner? They're not, jumping up and down, running around. It just like that comes from the parents. They set that standard, right? And so for me, I gotta be better, man. I gotta be better. Like, I can love my kids all day long, and I do. I adore my kids. Yeah. I love the shit out of them. And they know that. But there's other things that they see, they think of, they hear that I'm like, I got to be better in that aspect. And so it's absolutely right what you said. Like, when you don't always have to prove it, you don't have to do something physically. You just got to be, as an individual, as a parent, just be better. You be better, they'll follow your lead. And then you're raising amazing kids.
Dude, I am so on the same level with you there. That's literally my why. Yeah. Like this morning, going to work out was probably the last thing I wanted to do. Dude, I spoke to a company in Lake Powell late on Wednesday night. I drove 12 hours round trip. My legs felt like they were swollen. I'm like, and my wife says, I don't feel good, babe. I really have a sore throat. I'm not going to go. That was my opportunity.
Yeah.
But I knew my kids would see dad not go. Check number one. I decided to go because I want my kids to know. Because guess what? They wake up and they're like, we going to the gym today, daddy? Boom. Option number one. Option number two. Once I'm there, this is my next why. When the trainer says do 10, I always think, when I'm on that 8 and that 9, it doesn't feel good. I always think, if my boys and my girls sitting there watching, what would I do? And so guess what? I don't do the minimum, which is ask. I do 11. Or if I do 10, I freaking do them real good.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I want my kids to know, guess what? What is normal for them, right? What is that benchmark like you're talking about?
Yeah.
For half of my life, bro, I dreamt about being normal. I just wanted to not stick out.
Wow.
And if we live in that realm as parents, guess what our kids want to do? They want to just be normal. Don't stick out. Don't make a scene. I mean, if you guys are watching this right now, I'm the opposite now. I'm freaking like American flag. Why? There's an opportunity for us to give a hook.
Yeah, yeah.
You mentioned it. What hook are we giving to our kids? How are we reeling them in to not live a normal life? You want to live normal? Fine. Join the freaking robots across the world.
Yeah.
And stand in line.
Yeah.
And do whatever everybody else does. But to be abnormal, to stand out, that's what your kids are gonna see. I will never forget one time after watching that little movie of the dad cheering and jumping up and down. I'm like, I'm gonna be that dad. So we go out. It just so happens you mentioned the kids riding on the bikes in the driveway. We got to the driveway. My kids had just pulled off the training wheels. And I stopped him. I'm like, well, that's not going to ride around. And I get in my Bruce Buffer mode. I'm like, you stay there. Now up in the red shorts, right? At 2'3", 32 pounds, right?
Are we talking about you again?
Right? It's not much taller, babe. It's not much taller, brother. I'm like 2'3", 32 pounds. Coming at you in the red bike, Liam Kjar. And from that moment on, I could never live without doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so guess what? They get up and they're like, Dad. And they don't know what it means. So they just say, spell my name, spell my name. And it's totally not spelling my name, but I never correct them. Right?
Yeah.
This cute stage, they're like, spell my name, Dad, spell my name. And so their life is never not normal. So I go and I wrestle. And guess what they do in my corner?
Same thing. They're your hype man.
Dad! And so I it's so funny because what I do for them, they do for me.
Yeah.
What they see, they do.
Yeah.
And it was so humbling. After going back to Ed Milet last September, I sat there in my seat. I'm like, I just went through, let's talk about parenting. I went through their first wrestling season sitting in the seats, yelling moves. And I sat there in the seat in Florida listening to Ed Milet saying, don't neglect your child, live your dreams. A couple months later, I'm like, what am I doing? I started training. I went to nationals at a 40-year-old.
Dude, this was amazing, by the way.
As a 40-year-old. But I'm making this point for this reason. My kids sat in my corner and they spelled my name. Literally, I could show you a video. It's on YouTube. And I put in the power of parents. My kids are in my corner yelling as I'm wrestling. Smash him, Dad! Smash him! Champion of the world! Because that's what I do. I put on the Olympic music. I put the little medals over there, and I'm like, champion of the world! And in turn, in the moment where I'm tired and I need it the most, I haven't wrestled in 10 years, My kids are literally regurgitating what they see.
So powerful.
Dude, it literally changed my life. My dad always said, say your prayers, say your prayers. And it wasn't till in the off hours of saying their prayers one day, I walked up the stairs. It wasn't a mealtime. It wasn't the ideal time to say his prayers. I saw him supplicating at the bottom of his bed to God.
Wow.
Out loud when he thought nobody was watching.
When nobody was watching. He hasn't been asked to. It's not time to.
Yeah.
This is on his time, his dime.
In the corner.
Oh.
In the room where he didn't know anybody was watching, but I heard his voice. And I walk in and I peer at him and he's talking to God. And I walked out. I said, Dad wasn't saying it. He was doing it.
Yeah.
How often do we say, we nag, we teach, but we don't freaking do.
It's so true. It's so true. And it's easy to say, do as I say, not as I do, right? How many times have we heard that as a kid?
Yeah.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Get rid of that and just freaking do it.
Yeah.
Lead by example, right? Monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah.
You see daddy do it, you do it.
Yeah.
Right? I want to touch on your kids. I want to talk about your kids, right? You said you got 3. You became a dad within 15 hours.
Yeah.
What the hell? Tell us this story.
It's a quick pregnancy.
Yes, that's some miracle stuff going on, baby. I don't know what those care genes, but I'm telling you.
The sexy genes.
It must be the care sexy genes. Holy cow. Yeah. So 3 kids, 15 hours. Explain.
Dude, God is good. That's the explanation. God is good. There's a gift in everything. And the gift that we had was that we didn't know we couldn't have kids.
Really?
And it wasn't a gift in the moment.
So that's where it came from.
It was a very dark time. My wife's one of 9 kids. I'm one of 7. We want to have a big family.
Yeah.
And you try naturally for 10 years. You go into the IVF realm. If you don't know what that is, it's in vitro. It's where you go to the doctors and they try to help you to have kids, right? Yeah. And we have 2 miscarriages, a little boy, a little girl. So we go into adoption. And we had 2 failed adoptions.
So you tried to have kids for 10 years?
Oh, 10 years, man.
What does that mentally for you and your wife do to you both?
Oh, man, it wrecked us.
Yeah.
It wrecked us in many ways until we chose to step out of victim mentality. And where we thought we were having dead end, naturally dead end. In vitro 4 times, dead end, miscarriage. Adoption, being connected with a mom for 8 months. After the 8th month payment, she emails us, $45,000 in, says, I'm keeping my baby. And
holy moly.
Yeah, it's big. And money's money, hundreds of thousands of dollars out, but it was the emotional hit in the gut.
Because you're connected at that point.
Oh, dude,
like you've created the nursery, you've decorated the room, you've bought the clothes, the diapers. You're a parent at this point, right?
Well, at that point, literally, my wife had told her work, listen, I'm done, and I'm not coming to work anymore. I mean, dude, we're in the 8th month. We have $1,000 worth of pink clothes. Oh. Like, no joke. And then but here's the difference. Do we choose dead ends or new beginnings?
Yeah.
And for us...
Is it happening to you or is it happening for you?
Bingo.
Right.
And in the moment, bro, it's hard to believe it's happening for you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because the next moment, when we connect with another birth mom, and 6 months later, $35,000 in, because we're funding her apartment, her clothes, her food, her rent, all that stuff. We find out, because she stops coming to appointments, doctor's appointments, that she had placed the same baby with 3 families.
No way.
No kidding, man. I'll never forget my wife coming to me when we heard that message. There's a gut punch to the stomach, and my wife just pounded on my chest and said, why us? And I couldn't answer. Cruzon Syndrome I dealt with myself. Mm-hmm. I overcame it through help, of course, but this was like literally a different type of fight.
Yeah.
And this is the beauty. This is the beauty with how things happen. In that moment, literally in the bottom of the bottom of the bottom, when we felt like we were like asking God, why us? We're trying to do something freaking good. Why us? And getting angry. I was angry with him. In that very moment, literally in that moment, me arguing with God. The next morning, getting the call saying last night, literally in my darkest moment, in the very moment when I thought I was the biggest victim, in the biggest dead end, saying, there was a boy that was just born last night. Would you like to be parents? So sometimes in our darkest moments, when we don't know what the path is, God is so good. And he says, cute, Ben. That's cute. You know? You think it's working against you? As a matter of fact, the reason why these didn't work is because I'm not just going to give you one boy. You remember your miscarriage? There was a boy and a girl? I'm going to give you two. And not only am I just going to give you that one boy, Ben, 13 months later, that boy is going to have a full blood brother. And you're going to keep both brothers together.
Oh.
And so when God delivers, bro, he's coming with like suitcases full. And so in the moment, bro, when my wife's pounding on my chest and I'm saying, God, are you saying this? What more do you want? What more do you want from us?
Yeah.
This is supposed to be good. And he's like,
I
just
got you.
wait, dude.
I got you. Hold my beer.
I got you. I'm your homie, man.
Isn't
And
it
so-
crazy, right, when you think about this?
Man.
And at the last episode, I had Talia Hudson on, and beautiful story, absolute amazing story. And the same thing, you know, miscarriage after miscarriage, 2 kids, miscarriage, 3rd kid, tried again, couldn't get pregnant. She wanted that 4th baby. And then she same thing. She's like, why can't you give me the 4th baby that I need, that I want, that I desire? And then next thing you know, her 17-year-old niece gets pregnant and comes to her and says, I want you to adopt my baby.
Yeah.
And she said, she goes, I knew. She goes, I knew that God didn't want me to have a 4th baby because he was holding off because there was something bigger coming down the road. You sharing this same sentiment. Sometimes we forget, whether you're religious or not, it doesn't really matter, right? Whether you have faith, whether you believe in a higher power, it doesn't matter or not. There's something out there that is watching us. The universe, the energy. We're only very small people on Earth, on the ground. We have a very limited view. We can't see the horizon. We can't see the curvature of the Earth. We can only see a mile in front of us and it all looks flat, baby. But when you're higher up, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70,000 foot view, you see everything. He knew what was coming down the road for you. He knew that, yeah, you've gone through all this and you've gone through these trials and tribulations and you've lost money and you've been hurt and you hate me right now, but I'm doing it for a reason, Ben. Just trust me, one more day, baby. It's coming. Isn't that just... And again, you don't have to be religious to believe this, but when you hear stories like this, it really makes you question that there's not something else out there that's watching.
And doesn't it give us a relationship of parenting?
Oh, yeah.
Because your child is the same way.
Yeah.
And he's kicking against the pricks. And as parents, against the proper principles and values, we don't fold. In America and around the world, the collapse of the home is the collapse of parenting.
100%.
And you just hit the gold standard, is we stick to what's great. We stick to the lifestyle and the standards in our own lives.
Yeah.
And we show that, because when we fold in our own lives and we say, no, I'm not going to the gym, it doesn't feel right. Guess what? Our kids do the same, right? When we don't live, when we don't make these changes that you're talking about, our kids see that and dude, that's their default. That's their reality.
Yeah.
Man, you hit it right on the head.
So 3 kids, all adopted, 2 of which are biologically brothers, which is just stunningly beautiful. What has it taught you being a dad? because you went many years wanting to be and trying to be. And like you said, within 15 hours, it's like, boom, here's a kid. And you're like, oh, crap. I didn't do any prenatal classes. I don't know how to change a diaper. Like, holy cow, right? It's like me. I became a parent overnight. I met Andrea. She's got kids. I'm like, great. I guess I'm a dad too now. This is fun. Wow. They were a little older, 3 and 1. I kind of got away from the sticky stuff. But so what lessons did you learn real quick about being a father? And where did you pull those lessons from?
That's the power of my parents.
Yeah.
I literally went to my default, and my default were the standards of my parents, literally. And nobody's perfect. I had really good parents, but they weren't perfect either. And so I took the best I could from them. I took the best I could from my in-laws, and then ran with what I felt like God gave me, right? And the goal is just to show up every day, and boy, do I screw up. Boy, do I make emotional decisions. And for me, it's been the challenge of rebounding quick and knowing that they think I'm their enemy if that quickness isn't quick.
Yeah.
And if when I come back and I come back yelling because I had a bad day and I take it right to them, and then they're like, Dad's my enemy. And if I don't come back and say, I'm sorry, bud, I've just had a tough day and it's not your issue. And I take it on myself and I claim forgiveness and I ask forgiveness. And then we just go on loving again. And I go on and pour into them and start spelling their name again, right? And jumping into them and just pour into them and just have a moment. One of the best things I've had is coming home and just doing the best I can to not have an empty battery, even though every day it feels like it's that.
Yeah.
And showing that, guess what? How do I have a full battery when I go in? And I tell you what, there's days that I come in the door and my battery's not very full. And I got back off that 12-hour round trip and my legs are sore, or my legs just feel like numb. And I open the door. And what I dreamt about, dude, and you probably felt this being married right off the bat with kids. Dude, I come in the door and I literally dreamt for 10 years, not more than 10 years, someone calling me dad.
Yes.
Daddy, daddy. And right there, wow, my battery's discharged.
1,000%, bro.
It's charged.
1,000%. And I'll agree with you. There's days where your battery is on empty. That light is blinking. You're on fumes. And I'm not going to admit that when you walk in the door and you hear the daddy, you go from fumes to 100%. You may go from fumes to 25%. You have enough energy to love on them, spend time with them, and it's a case of, okay, guys, daddy's gassed. It's bedtime for all of us. The whole family's gone to bed at 6:30. I don't care, right? But you're absolutely right. When you walk in the door and just coming through the door and seeing your kids get excited, jump off the couch, fly to the door and give you a hug, it is just like, it gets you, right? It's, even if you're married, like your wife doing it, it's a thing. It hits you in your soul. Like, that's my beautiful wife. You go in, you get a kiss. How was your day? Da-da-da. But kids, dude, just calling you dad and being excited to have you home, how on earth do you not show up with a smile on your face?
Yeah.
It's impossible. I guarantee you guys, people listening, people watching, try and be mad, try and be upset or pissed off when you walk home and your kids run to you and shout dad or mom. Try and be upset. It's impossible.
Yeah.
You just, unless they're covered in glitter, then that's a different thing. Like, whoa, pump the brakes, back up, go shower, then we'll hug, right? But I'm telling you, as a parent, to hear mommy or daddy, when you open that door and they fly and give you a hug, you could have had the worst day.
Yeah.
Honestly, you could have literally just stepped in dog crap on the sidewalk before you stepped through your front door. But they're kidding you, like, oh, who cares? I'll clean it up. Who cares? Kick the shoes. Like, it's an amazing feeling.
And they taught us a lesson, right? Like recently, I've had that lesson of, look how they show up for me. But then that lesson going into my own life, and I'm like, why don't I do that when my wife comes home? Why is it that when my wife comes home, I'm like, hey, babe, what's up? or like there's nothing said.
Yeah.
And so it taught me a lesson. My kids
Taught you a lesson.
taught me a lesson that when I come home, we had talked about it, I think in one of the calls we had recently, like have that 6-second kiss
Yeah.
where you feel a little tingle inside.
Yeah.
And that's where you keep the magic going just a little bit longer. And that's taught me that when my wife's home and we talked about it, hey, babe, when I come home, I just don't want this to be a kid thing. I know all the focus can be on them, but it can be on us, family. And so that's taught me when I come home that my wife gets to be poured into too.
Yeah.
Hey, babe, what's up?
It's so beautiful. And you're absolutely like, you are a family. These are your kids. Your wife is the person that you've chosen, wasn't chosen for you. You haven't been matched together. And like, this is your person in life you will marry and go forth with. You chose them. They chose you. Show up. You love each other. You're with together for the rest of your lives. You've created little people, whether physically or not physically. You're nurturing little people that call you mom and dad. Show up. So you're absolutely right. When I come home, Andrea gets off the couch, she gives me a kiss. If she doesn't get up off the couch, I go to her, we have a kiss and exchange. The kids hug me. The kids come home from school, I'm in my office upstairs, they come upstairs, they come into my office. The first thing they do is come upstairs, come into my office, give me a hug, sit on my lap. How was your day? How was school? Great. Can I have a snack? Sure. And they're off. Just that 30 seconds of connectivity sets the tone. It absolutely sets the tone. So I think that's beautiful. And I love the fact that kids, allow your kids to teach us, right?
Yeah.
Allow your kids to teach us how to be confident, how to show up, how to want to spend time with us. Kids crave time with the parents. And if you don't think that's true, take a look at your kids. The simple things. And I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. My youngest daughter, obsessed with TikTok and YouTube shorts and all that sort of shit. All the time, hey, Dad, watch this video. I'm like, I'm not interested, kid. I don't want to see a cat playing a piano or some idiot doing something. I'm done that, right? Sure. Dad, hey, watch this. Or they'll send them to me. Dad, watch this video. I'm like, stop sending me shit.
Wow.
And then I realized she just wants to connect.
Yeah.
That's what she wants to connect over. Who am I to deny her that?
Wow.
A 30-second YouTube video puts the biggest smile on her face that her and her dad connected over it. It puts a smile on my face that I get to connect with her. Andrea said this so beautifully the other day. We were talking with our youngest daughter, and we were talking about homework. She hates homework. She doesn't want to do her homework. In fact, she lied to us. She said she did it. She hadn't done it. She got, a little bit in trouble for it. And Andrea said, why don't you want to do homework? She said, well, it's boring. I don't like doing it. And no. And Andrea said, you realize that me doing homework with you isn't just to make you smarter, it's for me to connect with you. And as soon as Andrea said that, my youngest was like, oh. She's like, yeah, that's why we always do your spelling words. It's so you can learn to spell better, but so I can have 20 minutes of time with you just one-on-one.
Wow.
And as soon as Andrea said that, Anna was like, boom.
Damn, that's powerful.
Homework ain't a joke, bro. She comes in, the first thing she says now is like, okay, can we do our spelling words? She knows that there's a double win-win in this.
It's a hangout time with purpose.
It's a hangout time with purpose. She gets to learn her words. She gets to hang out with mom. It's a win-win. And so for parents out there, like if you want to connect, I personally call it stack hacking. I'm stacking my hacks. I'm getting to spend time with my kids and she's getting to do her homework.
I love that. Right?
You want to go wash the car? Take the kid with you. Have her wash the car with you. You do the wheels because you're short. I'll do the roof. You wash the car. You're hanging out with your kids. Find ways to do things that you can connect with your kids that they will enjoy, learn things from, and you can connect over.
Dude, literally, I was in 3rd grade. My dad's a commercial real estate attorney. And like he's the type of dude that you play the game of Monopoly with. It's a 30-minute game. It's not 3 hours. He kills you. That's what he does. Literally to this day, I'm 40 years old. I'm probably 8 back then.
Yeah.
32 years later, I'll never forget my dad calling me out of school. He said I was going to a doctor's appointment, and I was super I was like embarrassed because I didn't want to think there was anything wrong with me, right? He grabs me and be like, man, I ain't taking a doctor's appointment. What you just said, he did, and it affected me 32 years later. He's like, Ben, get in the car. He opens the door. They're sitting on the seat is a crowbar and a hammer. I'm like, I already like it. Right? He gets in. We drive down the road to an old building. And he's like, let's go. We demo this building in the middle of my school day. My dad didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
That building today is now a swig that my dad owns. My dad taught me something that 32 years later, I literally do with my kids. We pattern what we see.
Yeah.
And what we are literally doing will echo in their eternity.
Yeah.
You think, and you act a little bit more smart when you think of that, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Dude, I love this. We have to wrap up, but this has been gold for me. I love hearing you. I love your story. There has been so many great things that you have said in the last 18 months that have honestly made me stop and think, shit, he's right. Like, why didn't I think of that? You continue to elevate people, change people's lives by telling your story, the adversities that you've come from. You've got into the public speaking world and you're hitting stages monthly, weekly, sharing your story and building others up. I truly appreciate you coming on board and sharing your story and sharing your parents and how you've become a parent and how you've adopted these beautiful kids. And I just really treasure and honor your time. And thank you for coming in.
Dude, you're so awesome. Let me say this before we go. Those of you guys who are watching and listening don't know that you live in Arizona.
I do, yeah.
We're not in Arizona right now.
Nope, Salt Lake City, baby.
He flew in to allow you to listen to this.
Yeah.
Dude, that's living.
Yeah, I fly in for every podcast.
And that's doing. And that's magic. And this is literally part of your journal to your kids. And that is something that's powerful. So let me just thank you for allowing me to be a little part of your journal. And thanks for allowing me a journal piece in my life and for you to be a hero and an impact in my kid's life. Because, dude, I appreciate it. I just wish I had an accent like you. I love you, man. I love you, brother.
I love you too. Thanks, pal. Thank you for listening to the Bear Den podcast. Please click subscribe and get the updates for our new episodes. And if you feel the need to reach out, you can reach me on Instagram @TheBritBear.